Welcome to the Akashic Reading Podcast, presented by AkashicReading.com, the place where you can learn to access your soul's wisdom, or at least stop digging the hole any deeper. I'm your host, Terry Uktana, and today we'll be taking a deep dive into the various aspects of the Akashic Library versus the Akashics in general, from the beings who work there and support us, to the beings like us who use it, to what you can find there and how to access it. Working in the Akashic Library can be confusing if you go there directly and don't know where in the library you are. This is one of the reasons why I have students start and end their sessions in their Akashic room. It's a familiar place where they can orient themselves, set the right intentions, and therefore have a more productive experience. In fact, Akashic rooms support and encourage this process. It's not uncommon for students to have experienced the right-hand wall or even several walls of the room as made of bookshelves and filled with books. This is their Akashic room acknowledging their goal of accessing the library. To do this, the actual walls of the room are either being made invisible so the images of the library can be seen through them, or removed entirely so the room can merge with a section of the library. Once the student recognizes the right-hand door as the door to the Akashic Library in their room, the wall phenomena fades away, allowing the true architecture of the room to appear. I'd like to note here that doors in the Akashics are rarely real doors. Instead, they're similar to teleporters in science fiction stories. Some are permanently programmed so you arrive at the same place no matter your intention or efforts, like the door you use to enter and leave your Akashic room. Others can give you access to any available area in the Akashics and so respond to your intentions, the instructions of your animal guide, or the programming within the meditation. The door to the right of the entryway in your Akashic room will always be the way to reach the Akashic Library while working with these meditations, but it isn't an indication your room is attached to or even geographically near the Akashic Library. If you wish to see where your room actually resides, I recommend making the request out loud while standing in your room, then stepping through the door on the left. Your room may be physically within the Akashic City, in one of the smaller villages, under the sea, or on a plateau, just to mention some of the more common locations. When you step through your right-hand door to the Akashic Library, it can feel like you are moving through a barrier, transitioning between dimensions, or exactly the same as walking from one room of your house to another. This is in part due to your level of awareness influencing the process as well as the means by which the door is transporting you. No matter how it feels to you, once through you'll notice you're now in a large vaulted space, which extends towards infinity to either side. Grand doors stand open directly across from you, commanding your attention. This is the foyer of the Akashic Library. The area is actually part of a large hallway which is a main walking path for the greater Akashic City. There will be beings walking in and out of the library as well as past it in either direction, no matter what time of day or night you're visiting. Some of these beings are, like you, embodied and working there either consciously or in dream time. Others are not embodied and going about their business as a soul, experiencing and creating within the greater universe. Some beings may take notice of you and others not, just like any group of people out walking in public. You don't need to stop for them, but instead should move through or past them and into the Akashic Library. For those of you who don't arrive in the foyer, don't panic. Some students go through the right-hand door and land at other entries, and this is completely fine. The Akashic Library is vast and has a large number of doors or access points in part to accommodate the various means by which beings interact with it and the world around them. For example, there's a sea entrance which allows beings to swim in. The Atlantis wing is connected near to this. Another section has what appears to be a massive aviary in its upper floors to accommodate larger winged beings. Those whose animal guides are winged may find themselves being flown in through the aviary entrance. Others might take them through a cave or a temple the student is more familiar with, or one which has specific meaning for them personally, even if they can't decipher what the relevance is at first. If, for example, your soul works in or is familiar with areas of the Akashic Library when not embodied, you may end up at an entrance where you have a personal connection. No matter how you get there, enjoy the experience and allow your animal guide to wend you through the library until you arrive at the main doors from this alternative direction. The Akashic Library is an amazing place like nothing which has ever existed on the physical plane. Think of combining the Lost Library of Alexandria, the New York City Library, the Library of Congress, and the Papal Archives with an IMAX theater, a virtual reality machine, and your favorite amusement park, and you'll begin to get a sense of the library. It's a living space which holds the sum total of all things which have happened and are happening at this moment, plus many of the possibilities, alternatives, and opportunities which have not yet occurred. Because the library is in constant use, it's always growing and becoming while supporting souls to do the same. It helps people use knowledge for self-improvement, live their lives more fully, make choices, and create. The Akashic Library can seem like one monumental space, but it is much more like a massive city in itself, which includes large public spaces, small group environments, and intimate spaces all the way down to the small, cozy cubbies with suitable space for curling up with a good book, scroll, or tablet. In the library, there are rooms full of large library tables for reading books like soul books or laying out piles of books and resources for perusal. There are also study nooks with cozy chairs and end tables, viewing rooms for projected and 3D materials, and various settings for classes and lectures. There are as many varieties of space in the library as there are beings who wish to use them. Some are like old English studies with overstuffed couches, lamps to light the gloom, and footstools. Others are at the top of the building overlooking the city and are best for those who are flying rather than walking, while still others connect with the dolphin pools or the Temple of Life. There are entire wings for subjects such as the 4 elements, historical periods of human embodiment, Chinese medicine, technology-involved alternative energy sources, and other types of embodiment such as Pleiadian and Arcturian. There are wings for each angelic form as well as for each aspect of being embodied such as linear time, how to create new manifestation forms with the current matrix, and much more which has nothing to do with embodiment at all. Students often start with their soul book in one of the large main rooms, but small nooks should not be overlooked. Unlike the main spaces, cozy nooks tend to not be regularly monitored by librarians and instead treated as residential spaces or offices. They're very handy for those who are working with not only their soul book, but other books as well. For research projects like studying healing modalities, inventions, ancient cultures, energetics in the physical world, or whatever interests you, a private nook is a place you can set up as a study area. Although usually a communal space shared by several beings at any given time, there's always shelf or table space for the books a student is working through, and those resources will remain there until the work is done. Using a private nook is not only supportive emotionally, but is an energy saver like a viewing room, as books do not have to be retrieved and returned each visit, and over time the nook will come to accommodate the student. Also, the community of beings in the Akashics will take note the student is working there long term and may come to support, help, or advise in the studies they're undertaking, which can be a great benefit. No matter what areas or type of environment you choose or works best for you, each area is designed to facilitate full use of the information as well as to accommodate the best experience for the user. This means the library itself is not only immense, but eclectic in form and function. Hence, experiences of the library can vary widely, as do written historical accounts of those experiences. The Akashic Library is not simply a place, but an interactive biosphere. You might think of it not as a monolithic being full of texts, but as a living document or an ongoing full-being conversation. We are a part of this conversation in each moment via our soul book. Each of our experiences, choices, actions, thoughts, and feelings is part of the discussion. How we perceive the embodied world, using our 5 senses, is actually a conversation between ourselves and all things outside ourselves. The way we do this through our physical senses tells us something, and we interpret this input, then act accordingly, thereby telling the world something in return. If you think of this mode of interaction as a comprehensive language, then the Akashic Library communicates with us in this way, knowing this is our primary means of perceiving ourselves and the world beyond us. Just as we vary our volume, pitch, facial expressions, and hand gestures to get a point across, the Akashic Library can present itself and the information it contains in ways unique to the visitor. For example, some people may walk into a classroom and feel they're in a grassy field with notebooks and blankets to sit on, while others see an open-air Greek temple space with stone blocks, and yet others see a schoolroom from the 50s with desks and chairs. It's all the same space. The information imparted will be the same, but the form by which it's conveyed is changed to best suit the recipient. And even with these visual and experiential differences, students sharing their experiences with others can recognize an area, a librarian, a teacher, or a lesson from the context. Within this seemingly magical setting are beings called librarians. These are souls who have dedicated themselves to working in the Akashic Library. They are constantly in the process of being and becoming extreme specialists in their areas of interest. They also have extensive knowledge on the function of the library and various means by which beings use the library, therefore are well suited to provide everything you will need to be successful. Imagine for a moment an infinite life where you were able to learn all there is to know about something you really like, or a lot about a variety of things. You can learn all there is to know about something, then teach others about it who will love it as much as you do. Or pick your favorite hobby and become the expert on it. Help others to be an expert on it as well. Or be there when someone comes up with a completely new idea and help them develop it into a whole field of knowledge. This is the life of an Akashic librarian. As the Akashic Library is about everything and anything, it's the librarian's privilege, duty, and right to foster and support it by becoming masters of their particular part. In so doing, they create a symphony of knowing and becoming which reverberates out into the all. Librarians are mature souls, or those who have achieved a level of wisdom, self-mastery, and unfolding, which allows them to incorporate service to others in their being. Librarians dedicate all they are and do in every instant to the pure pleasure and fulfillment of being and becoming a librarian in the Akashic Library system. In a place where there are no bodies or encasements, where thought and emotion make communication and learning fully experiential, they live to be any and all subjects a patron requests or they themselves are drawn to. Each will present themselves in a form which both represents who they are, their role in the library, and something which is suitable for interacting with the student. Librarians who have not embodied have energy signatures which can feel foreign or a bit off-putting no matter what form they present. These feelings of unease are not a signal of something wrong or negative about them, nor are they a message to be parsed out by the student. Some librarians have personal experience in the human embodiment process, either from research connected with their area of interest, or because they were at one time a student, like us, learning lessons. A number of them have even chosen to be regular librarians in their human lives. It's not unusual for students to struggle when focusing on the face of any librarian, regardless of their energy signature. The experience can be like a dream where you struggle to see the details, or similar to looking at an image which has been blurred or pixelated on TV, or even like a flashlight being shined in your eye, making the face too bright to look at directly. Most will look humanoid in some fashion, while others may appear as a swirl of light. The more you relax and allow yourself to experience them, the better you'll be able to see. This is often just a matter of time and familiarity. Each time you enter the library, you'll be greeted by a librarian. This being has accepted you as their charge and will present themselves to you in a form which is best suited to represent them while facilitating communication with you. No matter their form, they will be both a generalist and one who is well-versed in soul books. Above all, they will be excited and pleased to work with you in finding the answers you're looking for, and much more besides. Librarians are available at all times in the library to help. Unlike the sound monitors you might have met in your school or local library, these librarians are more like ushers, ready to help you discover your next adventure and to make it safe for you to explore. They want you to succeed, to be safe, to achieve your best and highest good, and have every opportunity the library affords. Librarians use a modified version of the speak when spoken to rule. As their purpose is to help you access the Akashic Library consciously and work with your soul book in particular, they do listen to your thoughts and intentions in a limited fashion. They use them to facilitate the process, but not as a replacement for clear and active communication. They won't act in the role of teacher or counselor, nor will they step into a place of authority concerning the process. So if you don't speak to them out loud, introduce yourself, ask questions, or make specific requests, then what you'll experience is a loving but enigmatic figure who moves silently through the process with you. This gets the job done, but tends to leave a feeling of emptiness or the nagging sense something is incomplete. As you continue to utilize the library, you'll encounter other beings besides the librarians. Many are students such as yourself who are there to learn. These people may be there because their physical bodies are sleeping, and this is their opportunity to take lessons in dream time. They may be souls who are not in bodies at this time, or they may be like yourself, traveling consciously. Regardless, please be respectful of their space. Don't disturb others, and they'll show you the same respect. While it's tempting to utilize the Akashics to see other people's books, to help them, or to influence their lives in some way, please remember the most precious gift we all share, which is free will. To access information about someone else without their permission is a violation of their rights and of their soul. Please refrain from such acts, as they can have negative consequences for yourself as well as others, even though you have the best of intentions. Some people look to the Akashic Library for information about the future. This assumes the future can be foretold, and at least major events are preordained. But again, there is the matter of free will. We have the freedom and the exquisite right to co-create our lives with the infinite in each second, and in so doing, recreate our futures anew. This means while you'll be able to see possible future outcomes for this life within your soul book, you won't be able to see specific events unless you have definitely decided to achieve them and have set them in motion, or the actions and decisions of others have set events in motion which will affect your future definitively. The future hasn't yet been created, therefore there is hope for all things good to be achieved in what is to come. The more familiar you become with the library now, the more successful you'll be when you start reading your soul book. And that's all the time we have this week. If you're interested in knowing more, check out my website, akashicreading.com. Thank you to my patron of honor this week, Lourdes. If you're enjoying this podcast, please consider supporting it by subscribing on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you can join in weekly patron-only classes, see all my other offerings, and get regular updates about what I'm working on at patreon.com/TerryUktana. Thanks. Bye.